All right, let's dive in. We've finally reached the last, and you could argue, the most critical piece of the whole ADD puzzle, the evaluate phase. This is really the moment of truth, you know? It's where we find out if all that hard work actually, truly paid off.
So picture this. You've designed it, you've developed it, you've delivered this amazing learning solution. The project's launched, and you think the work is done. But is it? That's when this little question starts to creep in. Did it actually work? Did we really make a difference? Well, answering that is exactly what this phase is all about.
Okay, so the project is out in the wild. What happens now? The first thing we need to tackle is a pretty common misunderstanding about when the evaluation part even starts. And here it is, the first big myth we need to bust. We call it the final phase, but evaluation isn't something you just slap on at the end. Nope. The best, most effective projects actually weave evaluation through the entire process, constantly checking in and getting feedback to make sure the final thing really hits the mark. This is exactly why you have to think about evaluation as way more than just a report card. This isn't about getting a pass or fail grade. It's about using it as a super smart, strategic tool for getting insights and, just getting better. Let's break that down because it's important. The evaluate phase really has two big jobs. First, you've got to prove the value of what you built. You need to show it worked. But second, and this is maybe even more important, you use what you learn to improve everything you're going to do next. It's all about validation and evolution. And to do both of those jobs well, you've got to evaluate at two very different times. Because believe me, when you get your feedback, completely changes what you can do with it. This lays it out perfectly. Over on the left, you have formative evaluation. Just think of this as your co-pilot. It's giving you feedback while you're building, so you can tweak things and make improvements on the fly. Then on the right, you've got summative evaluation. This is the big review after everything is done to measure the total impact. You absolutely need both. Okay, so we know when and why to evaluate, but how do we actually do it? Well, it all comes down to gathering the right kind of evidence. Right, so a single number or one person's opinion is never going to tell you the whole story. To get a real, complete picture of your project's impact, you need to look at it from a bunch of different angles, using different layers of data. These 4 steps are such a great way to think about it. You start with reaction, super simple. Did people like the training? Then you level up to learning. Did they actually learn the thing you wanted them to learn? Step 3 is where it gets real, behavior. Are they taking what they learned and actually using it on the job? And finally, the holy grail, results. Did that new behavior make a real, measurable difference to the business's bottom line? So how do we get the answers to those questions? We use tools you're probably already using. Surveys are perfect for checking reactions. Assessments and quizzes are great for measuring learning. Good old-fashioned observation can track changes in behavior. And things like performance metrics and just talking to stakeholders, that's how we connect the dots to business results. So when you take all this data, all these different pieces of evidence, you get to do something incredibly powerful. You're not just finishing a project anymore. You are officially closing the loop. See, all that information you gathered isn't meant to just sit in a report on a shelf somewhere and collect dust. No way. It's actionable intelligence. These insights tell you exactly what you need to fix, whether you should roll this thing out to more people, and how it all fits into the bigger company goals. And that brings us to this key idea. When you do it right, evaluation transforms learning from this separate, standalone activity into a true performance and business enabler. It makes what you do a core part of the engine that actually drives the business forward. So I'll just leave you with this to think about with your own work. What could you discover? What could you improve? What kind of an impact could you really have if you just made a commitment to closing the loop?